Hello and welcome to your Week 4 Day 2 lecture. Today I'm going to be covering wordiness and how to avoid it. You want to use these tips that I give you for your assignment tonight that is due that will be as a quiz grade. So we're going to talk about 5 different components of wordiness today, and the first thing that we'll start with is pronouns. Go ahead and pause this video, read it to yourself, and try to figure out what exactly is wrong with the second sentence. In the second sentence, the pronoun this is unclear. This can refer to either the fact that the device will stop working, or it can refer to the accumulation of buildup. This is something called an ambiguous pronoun. Pronouns are words like this, it is, here, you, he or she. All of those words have the potential to be ambiguous just because of the fact that they take the place of nouns. And we talked about this earlier in the quarter a little bit. So to prevent any kind of ambiguity from happening, what you do is you always follow the pronoun with the original referent, or you make it very clear what the original referent is. So for example, every time you use this, follow it by referring back to the previous sentence. Sometimes the device will stop working from an accumulation of buildup. To prevent this buildup from happening, be sure to clean the filter. A lot of students wonder, well, hey, is this going to sound really repetitive if I'm directly repeating from the previous sentence? When I read it out loud there, it did not sound repetitive at all. Err on the side of being more clear rather than ambiguous. There are also some issues with pronouns and gender. So I'm going to read this meme out loud for you, and you can see why pronouns can lend themselves to wordiness in writing. There comes a time in each dinosaur's life when he or she must look at him or herself in his or her mirror and, excuse me for a moment, English, what the hell? Being politically correct and including all genders in your writing itself is good, but it can lend itself to wordiness. And so what some people have done is that they use just the masculine pronoun. Each may stay or go as he chooses. Every employee must sign his time card. That is obviously problematic because it excludes half of the population who is reading. So instead of doing that, which is very inaccurate, the solution has become using the singular they. And this rule recently changes, definitely within the last 10 years, where they decided that it's okay in a sentence to use they to represent male and female genders if you don't know who the gender is. So somebody left their umbrella in the office is completely accurate now because there represents males, females, or people who do not identify with a specific gender. So please do use that in your writing. And don't be worried about violating the singular versus plural rule. Moving on to meaningless modifiers. Meaningless modifiers add quite a bit of wordiness to your writing. They are essentially fluff words, and I just used one, essentially, as an example of that. Fluff words do not add anything to your writing. Sometimes people think that they should use them because it might make them sound smarter or it might emphasize words. There are ways for you to provide emphasis without using these words. I don't want to say that you cannot use them in writing because there are certain situations, and I just use the word certain, where it is required for you to use them. However, try to limit them in your writing. What I would do is make a list of all these terms, put it on a Post-it note, have it next to your computer, and before you submit any kind of final paper in my class or in tech writing or in your other classes, Command F and search for each one of these words in your writing and try to eliminate the ones that are unnecessary. The ones in red are the ones that I've noticed quite a bit lately, personally. So if you say something like, I personally believe, not only is it redundant, but it also is just fluffy and very wordy. So avoid that. Same with definitely. I definitely think blank. Definitely is one of those words that people use for emphasis when you don't need to. So try to avoid those from your vocabulary. Moving on to pompous or pretentious diction. The words pompous and pretentious essentially mean when you're acting like you're better than everyone else. You're putting on airs. You do not want to use this type of diction in your writing. So a lot of students, what they'll do is they'll write their paper and then they'll go through, take out a thesaurus, and replace a lot of their words with bigger words. that lends itself to quite a bit of wordiness, and it makes it sound stiff and unnatural. You do not want to do that in your writing. Write as if you would talk. And you guys read that at the beginning of the quarter in Forbes' article. He says, write as if you would speak. Do not put on errors. So an example of this is, upon receiving an answer in the affirmative, he proceeded to the bulletin board. I always want to read these sentences in British accents. I don't know what that says about me. But all kidding aside, just simply say, after getting the okay, he went to the bulletin board, or he went to the whiteboard. It'd be so much more clear. If you do have a big vocabulary and it's natural for you to write or to speak in something like this, just consider your audience and try to make it a little bit more approachable. Here is a chart of a list of pretentious words on the left and their less pretentious counterparts on the right. The one that I really want to focus on for my class is the word utilize. There are articles upon articles out there of why the word utilize is not necessary in the English language at all. The word use literally means the exact same thing as utilize. Utilize is just used by people who think that they, again, want to sound smarter with their word choice. So please avoid the word utilize, utilization in tech writing. There's no need for it. Just use the word use instead. Next is inflated phrases. So inflated phrases are similar to meaningless modifiers in the fact that they add quite a bit of wordiness to your writing. And they're exactly what they sound like. They're inflated phrases. So I'm going to work through each one of these 12 examples and tell you the single word that can replace these words themselves. So along the lines of, if you find that you're using that in your writing, just replace it with the word similarly. As a matter of fact can be replaced with the word actually. At all times can be replaced with the word always. At the present time can be replaced with the word currently. For the purpose of can be replaced with the word to. By means of can be replaced with by. Due to the fact that can be replaced with because. Have the ability to can be replaced with the word can. In order to can be replaced with to. In spite of the fact that, it's a very common one, can be replaced with the word despite. In the event that can be replaced with if. And under circumstances which can be replaced with the word if. So again, what I would do is take out a Post-it note, write all of these down, Command F your papers, and then find and replace any time that you use any of these phrases with the words that I just gave you. The ones in red are the most common ones that I see in tech writing due to the fact that, again, people use it because maybe they think it makes them sound smarter. Just replace that. Same with in spite of the fact that. They can be easily replaced with despite. And last but not least is the last component of wordiness. So go ahead and pause your video, read this sentence, and try to figure out what exactly is wrong with it. This sentence is incredibly wordy. So there are a number of incredibly redundant. There are a number of terms here that are redundant. Anticipate ahead is redundant. Completely revolutionize. Past history. Ultimate effect. Unexpectedly surprised. Each one of those pairings, both of the terms mean exactly the same thing. This sentence would be far less wordy if you just use one or the other. Here's a list of some redundant phrases that I may see in tech writing. 9 a.m. in the morning is very, very common. If you're using a.m., then there's no need for you to say that it's in the morning because the readers can infer that. Past history, new innovation, plan ahead. People say that colloquially all the time. Again, just use one or the other. A lot of these mean exactly, or they all mean exactly the same thing. And in your writing, you might say, I'm not redundant. It's super obvious, but there's ways for you to be redundant without you really knowing. So it's very important that you have someone proofread your text for you. For example, the number of berries per plant were counted. Here, the fact that there is a number, obviously they're being counted. So you want to be really careful to avoid repeating yourself in that sense. Same here, liquid application is the most common method of applying herbicides. With reading out loud, it's a little bit easier to tell, but applying and application have the same root word, and so they are repetitive. Please avoid redundancy in your writing. So going back to the beginning, These are the 5 components of wordiness. Have those written out and next to you as you complete your in-class assignment for tonight. The assignment, you're going to have no time limit on it, and so you can take as long as you need. So you should be able to easily prevent the wordiness in each one of the examples. If you have any questions for me before you complete it, please let me know, and have a great day.